All the other actors in the movie, had their best acting brought forth for it, and had the majority of their success from those movies. Taylor Lawrence, who was in the Valentine's Day movie, and who's going to be in the sequel to that, New Year's Eve, which is coming out over the next couple of months. He's been in a number of different movies, but I think his best acting was brought forth because of this Twilight movie series. So I think that the majority of their success has definitely come from these movies, and Hollywood loves to profess on how their success has come from these movies. And I totally, totally agree with that, because nothing else they've done has been as entertaining as that. I can't say that Taylor Lawrence entertained me in Valentine's Day, or I think he's going to entertain me in New Year's Eve, which is a comical type sketch, if anything. So I think that they've definitely entertained us from what they've done in Twilight, but I can't say I've been entertained by anything the cast of this movie has done outside of it. I think the cast for it is great, though, because of the roles they play. I just wish the girl who played Jessica had a more significant role in the movie. It's kind of like she's just there. Hi, I'm Jessica, and I play volleyball. I'm a ditz. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's there are a lot of characters in that movie that are kind of just there to take up space. I think there are a lot of characters that have a lot of insignificance, and I wish they had more significance, like Jessica and that guy Jasper. It seemed like the only one of the Collins that really stood out was the one that had those stupid visions. I think her name was Alice. So I think that there are a lot of characters there that are kind of just there taking up space and not really serving any significance. I know they have roles in the movie and lines, but they're kind of just there. Second to the main actors, who of course are Bella, Jacob, and Edward. So I think that there's a lot of stuff that's wrong with it, but there's a lot more good things about these films than there are bad. So the number of pros outnumber the cons. So I think that Twilight Breaking Dawn is going to be a fantastic addition to the already 3 installments of the movies that we've seen. I can't say I'll go see it. I'll probably download it from a torrent website when it comes out, or see the Blu-ray or DVD, whatever. I've never been to a theater to see a Twilight movie, but I've always reviewed it on the internet because I'm somewhat of a critic to these things. And I'm not shitting over the credibility of Twilight as a whole, but I think there are a lot of things that are good about the movie, more good things than bad. There are a lot of bad things with it too, like the insignificance of some characters who I wish weren't as insignificant to the movie. But I guess shit happens and we have to deal with it. And there are a lot of insignificant characters with the Twilight movies. I mean, that Jessica girl could have had a more significant role in the movies and a more significant role in the book. I mean, what in the hell is the writer of these books thinking? Having all these characters there serving no purpose. If you have a character there, at least have them do something. I mean, it's been said that everything in a movie, adds up to some kind of climax. So what the hell are they there for if they're not there serving anything for the climax? They're not serving no point to the film. I mean, having a girl there, I know she's Bella's best friend, kind of like how Emily Osment played Miley's friend on Hannah Montana, but the thing was, Emily had a lot of significance to the show. But the problem with this Jessica girl and a lot of the characters in Twilight is they don't serve any significance, or they don't build up for anything to happen to them. Nothing ever happened to Jessica. She was just kind of there. Do you believe that if the Twilight stars do nothing else from the time up till now until they die, they will never have to do anything else? They will be set for the rest of their lives. That was the statistic that the tabloids released, saying that the Twilight stars didn't have to do anything other than star in Twilight movies, and that was it, because enough publicity and income had been generated from the movie. It's up there in the millions. I really think that they're really overrating this movie. Twilight is very overrated, but it deserves the respect it's getting, because it's a movie that I didn't think was going to amount to half as much success as it did. I interviewed people actually on this radio program. I'll tell you how crazy it was a few summers ago. I think it was around the time New Moon had been released, because everyone had gone crazy over the previous one, Twilight, the inaugural Twilight of the five, with the addition of Breaking Dawn coming on November 18th, and the final installment of the saga coming in June of 2012. Everyone had gone crazy, so they all go to New Moon, of course, pile into the theater by the hundreds, thousands, millions, whatever. So on this particular day, I had to interview an independent wrestler about an event he had coming up, and I promised him some promotional time on my radio program. So I had no knowledge of the fact that him and his girlfriend were going to go to Twilight New Moon a couple of years ago on the day of the interview. So I have no knowledge of this, and he calls me up. And halfway through the interview, we're doing the interview, and all I hear are these people in the background. It sounds like there are hundreds upon hundreds of people in the background screaming. And halfway through the interview, he tells me that, sorry, but I had to do this interview in the lineup of Twilight. So he calls me the day after, and he says, is the interview going to go on your radio program? And I say, yes. And he wants to do a second take of the interview. So we do the same interview a second time with the same questions. So then after I produced both interviews, I said to myself, should I use the first one, or should I use the second one, where he actually promoted the movie Twilight New Moon? So for entertainment purposes, I throw up the interview that was done in the lineup of Twilight New Moon up there on our archives, and I also throw up the second take of the interview. Those interviews are still available in our audio archives on our website. If you're listening to this in the YouTube channel at youtube.com, JonathanClark22, you see the Twilight Breaking Dawn promotional graphic used for all the parts of this video commentary. Thank you so much for checking us out at youtube.com, JonathanClark22. We have a number of video archives on our website, and amongst those you'll find a mixture of audio commentaries and interviews. Follow me on Twitter at HEW Entertainment Jonathan Clark 1 and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Drop us a comment if you've seen Twilight Breaking Dawn by the time you hear this, or are going to be hearing it, and have seen previous installments of the saga. Let us know what your opinion is of it. Do you like Robert Pattinson's acting ability? Do you think that there are characters in the movie that serve no significance whatsoever? Do you think that the first movie seemed like it had no effort put into it in regard to script or special effects? Whatever your opinion is on the Twilight Saga and the upcoming Breaking Dawn on November 18th, to be released in a second part in June of 2012, let us know. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and join the conversation at facebook.com Jonathan Clark. We're going to be playing this audio clip for you now, featuring interviews from Robert Pattinson, Kristen Stewart, and Taylor Lawrence. And in this audio clip, you're going to hear different opinions about what it was like being a part of the movie, having to learn the script, and more importantly, the metamorphosis of the characters that they go through from the beginning of the film till the end of the film. I think the metamorphosis of the characters, which is emphasized more by Taylor Lawrence than anybody in this audio clip, and any of the people who promoted Twilight, even the photographer who did photography for the different scenes in British Columbia, says that didn't even do that. So I think that the most important thing that's emphasized on by Taylor Lawrence and others is the metamorphosis process that these characters go through, and that's what you're going to get out of this audio clip. It was a piece taken from an edition of E.T. that profiled the movie and spoke with Robert Pattinson, Kristen Stewart, and Taylor Lawrence, who were all involved, of course, in the previous installments of Twilight, and are going to be a part of Breaking Dawn Part 1, coming out November 18th and in June of 2012. That's the tentative date for the release of Breaking Dawn Part 2. I'll be back with you in a moment after the audio clip and some music. But pay attention to what the characters had to say as they emphasize on the metamorphosis of the characters more than anything.
Bella's absolutely certain that she wants to spend forever with Edward, but there's just something about marriage that she's apprehensive about, and it comes from the way she was brought up, and also just there are a few beats right before the wedding actually occurs that really send her into the anxiety that she brings into the ceremony when she first starts walking down the aisle. There are a few looks from Edward that are just kind of unclear to her. Bella wants to obviously have the baby, and Edward's just terrified of it and thinks that it's going to destroy her, and thinks that she's ridiculous for thinking that she's strong enough to have a vampire baby, because he thinks it's just like, you know, Satan's spawn, because that's how he feels about himself.
So the wedding scene is kind of, it's just a relatively momentous moment for the series. I mean, it's been building up and building up and building up. I think Edward's proposed to her about 50 times by now. So it'd be quite nice. At least he doesn't have to propose anymore. Edward can't have a totally whole friendship with him because Jacob doesn't want one, really, and Edward doesn't want one with him either in the first one. But they're kind of forced into almost living together, and eventually kind of bond because they both really want the same thing for Bella. I mean, they both want it just to be okay, and they both think she's being crazy by making the decisions she's making. And Jacob is one of the people who wants to push Bella in the other direction just as much as Edward does. So they kind of bond over that.
Towards the beginning of the movie, he's still the same Jacob he always has been. He's jealous, he's still into Bella, and he's hot-headed. Throughout the movie, he matures a ton. It was awesome for me as an actor to, try and bring alive the old side of Jacob and now the new mature side. But as an audience, and even for me, to watch Jacob transform like this, it's cool, but it's weird because, Jacob starts out the movie as this young teenager, liking this girl that he can't get, and throughout the whole movie, he splits from his pack. He realizes that this is not what's supposed to happen, and he has to become a man and, do the right thing. I think the most exciting thing they can expect from Breaking Dawn is seeing all of the characters in a different light. All of the characters change so much from the beginning of the movie to the end. And I think that's going to be really exciting to see.
Right, turn off the lights. We gonna lose our minds tonight. What's the dealio? I love when it's all too much. 5 a.m. turn the radio up. Where's the rock and roll? Party crasher, penny snatcher. Call me up if you are gangster. Don't be fancy, just get dancing. Why so serious? So raise your glass if you are wrong, and all the